Okay, let's just jump straight in. You spent any time writing code, you know this feeling, right? You finally finished that feature, squash that bug, and now it's time to commit your changes.
Yeah.
You look at the commit message box and, well, what do you write? Updates, fix, maybe did some stuff. We've all been there.
Oh, absolutely. That moment, it feels like the finish line, and the commit message just seems like this tedious extra step. But then weeks or maybe months later, you're scrolling through the Git history trying to figure out why something changed, and
Mhm.
all you see are those really generic
Yeah,
messages.
that's the worst.
Yeah.
It really is. It means only the current you actually knows what's going on. Future you, or heaven forbid, one of your teammates, is just left completely in the dark. It makes tracking changes so much harder than it needs to be. And let's be honest, writing consistently good commit messages, that's the kind of work humans, well, we often don't prioritize it or enjoy doing it well.
Yeah, it's pretty much the definition of a chore for a lot of developers. And that's exactly where the source material for this deep dive comes in. We've been looking at this really practical guide that offers, honestly, a brilliant solution to this exact problem, using AI to automatically generate those clear, helpful, descriptive Git commit messages.
Right. It takes that painful task and just hands it over to automation. And here's where it gets really interesting. And the source makes a big point about this. It uses OpenAI, sure, but it specifically highlights a way to do this that is incredibly, surprisingly low cost.
Hmm.
So our mission in this deep dive is basically to walk you through how you can implement this kind of AI automation for your Git commits, pulling directly from the details in this guide.
Okay, so let's dig into that core problem just a little bit more because the source really, really drives it home that lack of effort in the commit message. It means the intent and the context behind a change just get lost almost immediately. It's not just inconvenient, it costs significant time later when you're debugging or just trying to understand how the project evolved. It's truly work many developers would much rather skip.
Yeah, definitely. And the solution the source proposes is, well, it's elegant because it leverages something pretty readily available, AI, specifically via an API call. You're essentially taking the summary of what you actually changed in the files you're about to commit and letting the AI process it.
Exactly. You feed the AI the raw material, the change itself, and it spits out a human readable summary and description.
Now, typically when you hear using an API, you think, oh, money, dollars. But the guide we're looking at is really focused on the cost aspect and has a great recommendation. It points specifically to the GPT-4o mini model from OpenAI.
That's right. And the source really emphasizes that this particular model is remarkably cheap. They even suggest that, with frequent use, your monthly cost might actually come out to less than $1. That kind of affordability makes automating this task accessible to, well, pretty much anyone, not just big teams with huge budgets.
Less than $1 a month. Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of wild for something you might use dozens of times a day, potentially. Okay, so how do you actually get this set up according to the guide? They lay out a few necessary steps. First off, naturally, you'll need an OpenAI API key.
Which makes total sense, right?
Yeah.
You're calling their service. The key is what identifies you and tracks your usage, and the costs, minimal as they might be with that suggested model. The source notes they have another guide specifically on getting the key, so they don't get bogged down in that detail here. But yeah, it's the essential first step.
Got it. Key in hand. What's next? You'll need Node.js installed. The source has a little fun here, mentioning that experienced developers probably have this already. Maybe more likely than winning the lottery, they joke. But they do helpfully provide the official link if you need it. Node.js is needed because it's the environment that runs the script, the one that talks to the API.
Right. And once Node.js is ready, the source says you'll need a couple of packages installed using NPM, which is Node's package manager. They list Axios and Dotenv. Axios is, well, it's kind of the standard way in Node.js to make those HTTP requests to the OpenAI API.
And Dotenv, what's that for?
Dotenv is crucial. It's for security. It's designed to load environment variables from a special file, a .env file. And this is where the source gives a pretty strong warning that .env file is where you'll put your sensitive OpenAI API key.
Okay. To keep it out of the code itself, out of version control.
Exactly. Standard practice for credentials, really. The source really stresses the financial risk if that key gets exposed. I mean, if it's in your Git history and someone finds it, they could use your key and you'd be the one paying the bill. So the big warning is do not commit your .env file to your repository unless it's truly private, maybe self-hosted.
Okay, that's a really critical piece of setup, protecting yourself financially and, securely. So you've got Node.js, the packages, your API key safely tucked away in a .env file. What's the heart of the solution then?
That would be the commit.cjs file. This is the script itself. The source actually provides the code for this script. There's a link to a gist, so you can just grab it. The script is what orchestrates everything. It gets your stage changes, formats them up, calls the OpenAI API with your prompt, and then gets the generated message back.
And the script isn't just a simple API call, is it? The source mentions it has some smart features built right in.
That's right. Yeah, one really useful feature highlighted is its ability to filter out specific files from the diff before it even sends it to the AI. For instance, the code they provide filters out files ending in .min.
Oh, right, like minimized JavaScript or CSS files?
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely wouldn't need the AI to describe what changed in those. That would be pointless.
Precisely. And the source also mentions that this filter is customizable. So if you wanted to ignore changes in, say, a docs folder or maybe build artifacts, stuff like that, you could easily modify that part of the script. It just keeps the input to the AI focused on the meaningful code changes.
Okay, makes sense. So you've got the script file ready.
Yeah.
How do you actually put this into action? The source gives two simple steps.
First step, just like a normal commit process, you stage the files you want to include using git add. The script works on those staged changes, the snapshot of what you're actually ready to commit.
Okay, standard procedure. And then?
Then, from your project's terminal, instead of running git commit, you run nodecommit.cjs.
Just execute the script directly.
That's it. And according to the source, it's fast. Within seconds, they say it's very quick. Though obviously, larger changes might take a moment longer. The AI returns the suggested commit message right there in your terminal.
And what does that output look like? What do you get back?
So the source shows it gives you two distinct parts. First, a concise summary line, like a title, and then a more detailed description, often presented as a bulleted list outlining the key changes.
Okay, interesting. Why two formats, though?
That's actually a really thoughtful detail based on how developers actually work. The source notes that different Git tools handle commit messages differently. Some, like SourceTree maybe, might just give you one main input field. Others, like Fork, which the source author mentions using, have separate fields for the short summary and the longer multi-line description. By providing both, the script gives you the flexibility to just copy and paste the format that works best with whatever tool you prefer.
Smart. Very practical. So summing it all up based on this source material, the benefits highlighted seem really clear. You save effort, obviously, by automating that tedious task of writing detailed messages. You get clearer, much more consistent messages for easier tracking later on. Future you will thank you. Its fast takes only seconds to generate the message. And critically, as we discussed, it's remarkably low cost thanks to that specific AI model recommendation, the GPT-4a Mini.
Yeah, it really takes a common developer pain point, something often done poorly or maybe even skipped entirely, and provides an efficient, economical, and pretty straightforward automation using tech that's readily available.
So this deep dive into the source material really reveals a practical, inexpensive, and fast way for developers to solve that annoying, tedious problem of writing good commit messages. All just by leveraging a little bit of AI. It's just a simple script hooking into a cheap API, really.
Exactly. It shows how effectively even these small, repetitive tasks can be streamlined when you apply a targeted AI solution like this.
And that kind of leaves us with a thought to consider, doesn't it? Something for you, the listener, to mull over. If a simple script calling a surprisingly cheap AI API can automate something as specific and frankly manual as writing a good Git commit message, what other small repetitive workflow steps, maybe in development, maybe in other fields you work in, could potentially be streamlined or improved using similar low-friction AI integrations? The possibilities, well, they feel pretty open-ended right now.